upper middle class suburbia world, and um, my family's awesome. I never really had, and can't ever say that my family was never there or that that's the reason things ended up the way they did. Um, I guess I'll have to kind of only have 30 minutes, so I'll kind of have to jump. But I grew up normal, went to, through high school, I went to college. In high school, I was, star athlete. I had scholarships when I was a freshman to D1 schools and was recruited all over. And my dad played at OU. My grandpa coached at Notre Dame. I just grew up football family and tough guys. And, so through that, the whole mentality of all that comes with it. But so through high school, I was never really like a bad kid. I always played football and, was an athlete. And so if you know anything about being an athlete, you got to be pretty dedicated. But in the summers, during football, we never really drank or anything. But during the summers, I was always the one who was the last one to sleep and always one with all the fun ideas to go do stupid things. And I was never afraid to. I was never afraid of getting caught or anything. I always relied a lot on my personality and being able to talk my way out of things. And that carried on to years. But through 17, the end of my high school stuff, my parents got divorced. I moved down to Texas with my uncle. And I started partying, started drinking. I was out on my own. I had my own place with two buddies, and just things got crazier and crazier. And I started doing a lot of cocaine and drinking, and we thought it was just normal. We were in college. It's what everybody seemed like they were doing. And it became more and more, and I remember waking up like I was actually selling cars. And I remember 6 days a week I'd wake up in the morning and, man, I'd go sell these cars, and I'd have to do line to go do it and, do all this stuff. And, it was another great missed opportunity in my life. The guy, I actually just met with him last weekend in Texas, and he, went from having no cars in the lot when I was with him to now, he did $45 million in sales last year. Wow. So, and he's looking at me like, you could be right here with me, and I'm like, I know, but I'm here. So, and now he's awesome. He's actually helping me get a car. So, and he trusts me. He gave him my story, and he's like, yeah, what do you, and so he's, wants to be a part of LifeWorks and help, but we'll jump back. So through that, I remember calling my mom and saying, hey, Mom, I think I'm addicted to cocaine. I probably need to come home. And she's like, oh, okay. And I came home, and it was kind of really nothing because she was more worried in the fact that she just got a divorce, and how was I going to handle it and all of that. And so that issue got pushed back. It wasn't like on the forefront. I think it was, she's like, oh, well, he told me he obviously stopped it, and no big deal. And it wasn't. I came back, I didn't really do coke again, but I started drinking and partying and partying. And to jump forward, my cousin got in a bad accident, and he had all these pills around, and I was there taking care of him. And I started to take them, and I started to have to take them every day. And if I didn't take them, I would get sick. And there, Oxycontins and Xanax and all of this stuff. And I kept taking more and more. My cousin's in pain. He smashed the whole side of his left side of his body, and he's in a wheelchair, and he can't walk. And one of our best friends was paralyzed, and so he had all of that hurt. But I was taking more than he was. And he's like, all right, whatever. He was just happy I was there with him. And so then my sister had married a billionaire. And so through all of that, and that kind of took back when I was 13 is when I met him. And he threw away money like it was nothing. And so to me, money became nothing. And because anytime I said, hey, I need money, he was like, here's $5,000, here's $10,000. And I never learned the value of money at an early age. And anything I wanted, new cars, was, oh, here you go, what do you want? And so I always had money to get the drugs and to kind of do whatever I wanted, to buy whatever I wanted. And, with that came along, my head getting really big and thinking I was so cool and I didn't have to, be a good person and I could do whatever I want because he was a jerk and he drank a lot and treated people like crap, but everybody loved him because he had money. It really, now when I look back, it really messed me up, and it took years And just now I'm finding out who I am without all of that. And just the hurt from my sister, seeing my sister and everything. I think throughout that whole time, I always grew up with morals and a good guy, and my dad always, taught me about respect and respecting women, and I started to get more away from that, and so I started to numb it more and more with drugs, and I saw just how everybody in my family changed because of money, and how much power you could have and success with having money. And so that's where I thought that my life was going, that I can have that, I could have everything I wanted and everybody I wanted. And it really did a lot of damage that I didn't know. And I went to rehab, Passages in Malibu. Alex, my brother-in-law, I paid $100,000 for me to go there for a month. And like I say, I got acupuncture, I learned how to play tennis, and I figured out about an inner child, and got some girls' phone numbers, and that was really about it. And I got home, and my brother-in-law was like, "Oh, you did a great job." He gave me a $100,000 Mercedes. We walked in the dealership here, and he bought it. And so I'm like, rehab's cool. You go and you get cool things, And this is the mentality that it created. And I never learned anything, I stopped doing the pills for a little bit, and I started to kind of want to do better, and then, that lasted a couple weeks, really. And when you're in a lifestyle of drugs and continually being intoxicated, the day seems like a year, and because you always have to have something, so you're always in the search, and unless you don't have that, your life's not going to be the same. And everything just full of emotions and radical decisions and just all over the place. I was never stable in anything. And I went through a few more rehabs during that time. I've been to 4.5 total. But it was a couple $100,000 my family has spent on trying to get me clean. Now back to Passages, I did meet a guy that he owned like strip malls all over the United States, and was extremely wealthy and really nice guy. He took me under his wing, and was, when he left, I said, "Well, what's the one thing that I need to get out of this, man? What do I got to do to stay sober?" And he said, "Well, just go to church." He's like, "That's all I've learned." He was there for like 3 months, and he said, "Well, just go to church." He's like, "That's where I figured out that I need God in my life." And I'm like, that sounds too easy. It sounds too easy, sometimes. And so I'm like, well, that can't be it. So he doesn't know what he's talking about, And so I just continued on, just thinking I had to just let go of my parents getting divorced. That's what they said the problem was. And so I'm like, okay. And so I went in and out of these programs, was moving all over the place. I'd live in California. I went to high school in California, and